Tonight on NBC 15 News at 5.
My main focus is to stop this violence.
A march against violence after a young father died from gun violence. New treatments.
99% of people worldwide have a variant.
After Senator John Fetterman's announcement that he has clinical depression, doctors are showing new therapies to treat the illness. Bail reform.
Your freedom, your life shouldn't be dependent on your wealth.
As violence continues in major cities, the debate on how best to address it continues. NBC 15 News at 5 starts now. Skies were clear and the sun was out today as loved ones gathered together to pay their respects to Zachorian Harris, a young man who was shot and killed at a beauty supply store in Sims. Harris was only 20 years old when he was brutally murdered on February 3rd. His family say he was going to retrieve his son from the child's mother when shots rang out, ending his life. At the funeral service today, the mother, family, and friends held a peaceful march, bringing attention to the heavy violence in Mobile and to honor Zachorian's memory. Porshina Harris spoke about her son and the pain she is feeling, but also about the need for change.
Right now, my main focus is to stop this violence in Mobile, Alabama, to take us from being number 2 to number 0. Right now, I'm about to walk not for my son, but for the whole community.
Tonight at 10, we'll have more on the rally and how the family is turning their grief into action to end gun violence. Daphne police need your help finding a man who is wanted for indecent exposure. This is 43-year-old Devin Hill from Mobile. He's accused of exposing himself to an employee at the Bounds YMCA in Daphne early yesterday morning. Police say he also allegedly made sexual suggestive comments to another woman. If you have any information on Hill's whereabouts, please contact Daphne police. An East Bruton man was killed after eluding officers and crashing into a tree and happened on Ridge Road east of East Bruton in Escambia County. 20-year-old David Emmons was driving away from police when he left the roadway. That's when he hit a tree and his vehicle caught fire. Emmons was not wearing a seatbelt and died from that crash. Alabama law enforcement agency is investigating. Well, in Pritchard today, folks went out to enjoy the Crew of Goats parade. The parade has a unique origin. It's held to commemorate someone who Mobile Mass calls an era folk hero of the 1920s. He was known as the Goat Man. He would attach his goats to a homemade cart and parade the roads, singing for all to come. The crew says the Goat Man would toss homemade trinkets to the crowds who came out to see him. Since 1995, the Crew of Goats parade has been led by a different person each year with the title of Goat Man. This year's honorary Goatman was Marshall Hunt, the parade chairman for the Port City Riding Club. All right, thanks, Ryan. With the announcement from Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman's office saying he is being treated for clinical depression, many are wondering what that means. Medical reporter Liz Bonus shares some of the options now used by doctors to help manage this illness. The attorneys representing the 5 former Memphis police officers charged in the death of Tyree Nichols began to reveal how their defense will take shape.
He never struck him. And there has been no information that we have seen as of right now that indicates that there's any sort of information that we can rely on to say that it's murder.
That was John Keith Perry, the attorney for Tadarius Bean, speaking after yesterday's hearing. He claims the defendants are not equally accountable for Nichols' beating. Blake Ballin, the lawyer for Desmond Mills, is taking a different approach. He's pleading with the public not to rush to judgment.
Let's not forget that my client is a black man in a courtroom in America. This is a country where black people are incarcerated at 5 times the rate of white people. Much has been said about the ways that the system has failed Mr. Nichols. I will work tirelessly to make sure that the system does not fail Mr. Mills.
Meanwhile, the Memphis NAACP, along with state representatives and local leaders, called for the U.S. Department of Justice to conduct a pattern and practice investigation of the Memphis Police Department. North Korea today launched a long-range missile from its capital into the sea west of Japan. According to the South Korean and Japanese militaries, the missile flew over the Korean peninsula and splashed down after an hour-long flight. It comes a day after North Korea threatened to take strong measures against South Korea and the U.S. over their joint military exercises. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken commends the show of force and is urging world leaders to do the same.
We call on others to condemn this action, to take appropriate steps, including the effective enforcement of sanctions, and countries that have influence with North Korea should use it to try to move it from the course that it's been on now.
The launch follows a massive military parade in North Korea's capital last week, and when North Korean leader Kim Jong-un displayed more than a dozen missiles. Ahead of Daytona 500, we're getting a look at some of the drivers and crew members that broke down racial and gender barriers in the sport's 75 years. Heather Williams reports. Well, how awesome. We're supposed to have some awesome weather though, right, Ryan?
Absolutely. MOTs tonight. Weather's great. Joe Kane Day tomorrow. Picture perfect weather. A little cool in the morning. Lots of sunshine. We'll make it into the upper 60s, 70s. Monday, that Tuesday looking great and relatively dry for most of this week. Maybe a shower here or there, but the story this week's going to be the warm temperatures flirting with 80 many days.
All right, beautiful weather. Well, that's it for NBC 15 News at 5. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tonight at 10 o'clock.